Awesome. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hacks, Tips, and Tricks for Real Estate Agents. We've got myself, Hallie McCrory, team lead in San Angelo and Dallas, Texas, known for selling 100 homes a year in a small town. And I've got my lovely co-host. Oh wait, this way. No, this way. I'm opposite. Casey Stiers in Raleigh, North Carolina. She is the downtown guru for those of you, your first time jumping in, maybe. But she works all of North Carolina. So that's your Carolina girl. And I'm so excited today to announce that we've got Chelsea PEITZ on. If you guys aren't following her on Instagram, well, I know you're on other socials too. That's just where I follow you the most. So Instagram, other socials, whatever. But you need to be following Chelsea if you're a real estate agent, especially in this day and age, especially if you're trying to work social media marketing. She is the guru of it all. This is my, I was going to say ride or die, but only I just met you now. You're my ride or die and you just don't know it yet.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And you literally just set up the entire show and didn't even know it when you just said, you're my ride or die, but you just didn't know it. And
exactly.
That's what I'm really passionate about. I'm a former realtor, now turned real estate educator and coach. And I am often on stages helping real estate humans create content that can make a stranger feel like they already know you, which is exactly what just happened here. We did not prep that. It was not pre-planned. So thank you for following exactly in line with that.
Yes. Well, that's why I love your stuff too. It's just everything is I think you had a quote you said like being human is the new professional. So
Yes.
and we'll jump into that, but you have all like my favorite quotes. I need to pull up the quote. So the way that we got connected with Chelsea, and well, I'm sure you're so active on social media. I'm sure you would have, if I sent you a message, would have reached out. Well, which I did, but the way I got connected with Chelsea, so I actually spoke at EXP's last conference in Orlando about a month ago, and I wrote Chelsea. You had like just posted this quote on your Instagram. I'm like, that's perfect for what I'm talking about. So I wrote it down on a napkin real quick and brought it up with me on stage, and like you could just tell it resonated with everyone so much. So, but we'll get into that. I just wanted to drop that in there. So, and thank you. I can't remember the Blended Sense guy's name. I need to pull him up, but shout out to the Blended Sense guy.
Albert, hello.
Yes. Awesome. Well, yeah. Okay, so you started out as a real estate agent, yes? So you've been through everything we've
in the old days, as I laugh and air quote the old days. I jokingly tell people I got licensed in 2001 BF, and the BF stands for before Facebook. So I had an entire adult career as a real estate human before social media existed. So I did business, the old fashioned way, as we call it now. And I'm really passionate about bringing in, humanity into marketing and being able to market yourself as the amazing human you are with, heart and humanity. That's really going to connect through technology, because we're not ever going back. We're always going to be using this in some form or fashion. And how can we create a more authentic experience that can connect and actually create real relationships with people on the other side of the screen? So that's my passion that I speak on now. But yes, many years ago, I was a realtor.
Yes. So can you take us through kind of the history from becoming a realtor to where you are now, just give our audience just a little background?
I was a full-time real estate agent, and I started off in new home sales. So I've worked in a variety of different areas inside of real estate. I started off in new home sales. And it was like 2003, 2004, which if anybody's listening was in real estate in those years, you remember what the market was like. I think my record was, I think we sold 13 homes in one day. So it was a lot. It was a wild time to be in real estate. For sure. And then in 2008, I decided to, I actually had gone into residential real estate beyond new homes. And in 2008, which you also might remember was a very unique year in real estate, I decided to transition from being a full-time real estate agent into helping real estate humans connect with their clients through social media, which back then, which seems funny to say the old days or back then, it wasn't as prevalent. We certainly weren't using it to create and communicate our personal brand and to generate business. And for many people now, that's their primary source of generating business. And so I stayed within the community, but I sort of hung up my license and started helping real estate agents understand how to leverage social media and technology to still have those human relationships with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So are you, I mean, I know that I said Instagram. Are you primarily focused on Instagram and Facebook, or is it, I mean, do you coach people on whatever platform they're interested in?
I spend the majority of my time on Instagram. I love Instagram. I am a social media quote unquote rule breaker. And so that means that I do not equally split up my time. I am not everywhere by choice because I really believe that protecting your mental health and your boundaries and your non-negotiables, whatever that may be, I personally do not want to make the time to be everywhere. And that is shocking to some people. It's also shocking to some people that I only post maximum twice a week in the feed. I do a lot of other things outside of that. But it's all about finding something that is sustainable and workable for you at that time. A lot of people that I work with, I think, are coming for permission. And I'm happy to grant that you don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to make a post every day like the person that's in your marketplace that may be your competition or your colleague. And there are reasons why, and I'm totally happy to go into those as well. But yeah, I spend the majority of my time on Instagram. I personally love Instagram stories. I think that is the number one conversion opportunity on the interwebs, on the socials today. And yeah, I wrote a whole book about why the science and psychology of sharing stories, and specifically through something like Instagram stories or Facebook stories or wherever you're sharing your stories, is a truly unique experience that connects people to you in ways that you don't even know are happening on the other side of the screen.
Okay, what is the name of your book? I had no idea.
Yeah, so I actually have two. And so the first book that I wrote is called Talking in Pictures. And it was truly a look at social media platforms, in specific Snapchat, when that was the only platform that was actually allowing you to create content and there was no feed. You just opened up to the camera and, well, okay, I guess I have to talk to this thing. And so we got, for the first time ever, very used to seeing people's faces and being able to have a conversation with them in real-ish time. Maybe it wasn't live, but maybe it was in the last hour or the last 5 minutes that you posted something and now I can participate. We had this like shared experience. And before then, we didn't really have that. You might have been able to watch somebody's video that they recorded and maybe you sent them a comment and maybe they commented back or not. Or if you were used to watching people on TV, like reality TV, and you couldn't participate with those people, you might feel like you knew those people or that if you got to meet them, they would become a friend of yours. But it wasn't a two-way mutual relationship. And now it is or can be, meaning you don't have to meet somebody. You can actually either just lurk with love is what I call it. You don't have to communicate, but you can lurk with love and feel like you know this person and maybe they're someone that you would be friends with if you were neighbors. But you can also talk to that person and that person can talk back and you can have these relationships that truly are working the same way in your brain and your brain chemistry, your brain has no idea that you're looking at a face on a screen versus literally being right in front of it. The same
Right.
neurons fire, the same dopamine and oxytocin and all of those chemicals that are happening in your brain still happen, even if I am consuming that person who I've never met, I don't know, and I am literally just seeing their face and hearing their voice on the screen repeatedly.
That's so wild. Because we hear a lot about that just with, I guess, like mindset, and just sign, it's becoming more popular. Like you can train your brain to do this, you can train your body to do this. But it's interesting to hear it from a business perspective of how that still goes on, like picture to picture. I don't know, just a little comment, but
Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. My background before I, went into real estate, I actually went to college for, I got a degree in clinical psychology. I was going to be a therapist. So I've always sort of been fascinated by human behavior,
Right.
psychology, how we connect with other people, how we form trust and bonds. And that's what I speak on primarily now. But like the neuroscience and the psychology of social media is so fascinating to me, because it truly is baked in. Like we have these innate things as human beings where we need to see people's faces in order to connect with them and understand them. We have an innate need to be loved and belong to a community, which is exactly why you hate showing yourself on video because
Yeah.
it's vulnerable. So there's all these different things at play. And that's really what my passion is diving into that area of this world.
Okay, so Talking in Pictures is one of your books. What is the other one?
Yeah, my second book is called What to Post, and it's exactly what it sounds like, because the number one question and the frustration that I would get so many times is I just don't know what kind of content to create, or I feel like I'm posting things and I thought that if I just was consistent and kept showing up, eventually people would be reaching out and saying, I want to work with you, I want to hire you, but that's not happening and I can't figure out why. And so
Yeah.
I really wrote that book as a complete workbook structure, that could give you a guideline. Because ultimately, the only original content on the planet is your personality and your perspective. And I call that basically the context of who you are, or the context of your content. And so it's a little bit more of a deeper dive into extracting those different stories that you already have. And I know people keep asking me if I'm going to write another book, and I keep saying, no, I'm not going to do it, but I might have to, because I've had this progression of how to really articulate what this concept of context is, because people are making content. They're putting up the posts, they're sharing the market updates, they're sharing the stats, they're sharing the Canva templates, and are becoming frustrated because they're not seeing the results that they were expecting to get. And the one small tweak is by putting context into your content. And that can simply be, for example, the easiest way to do it is put your face in it. I know that sounds wild. Your face, your voice, completely original, unique. If you want to talk
Yeah.
about the market, I love that. Tell me what your unique perspective on it is, or your opinion, or what you would recommend if I am a first-time home buyer, or what that might mean to me. For me, as somebody in social media, I talk a lot about algorithms and all of those things that people about wondering what's going on behind the scenes. I didn't invent that content. But what sets me apart is I'm giving you my unique perspective on what that means and my interpretation of that. And so the idea itself isn't unique. It's your spin, it's your hot take, it's your interpretation. It's also your personal stories and your lived experiences, which is literally the only thing you cannot copy and paste from another realtor you're following in your feed.
Right.
That's the only original content there is.
okay.
So the idea is, why aren't we doing that? And that's where that vulnerability comes in. That's where that fear of rejection? What if somebody disagrees and
Yeah.
tells me that they disagree? And I hate how I look on video. I don't like how I sound. I don't have time. A lot of these limiting beliefs. So I really do actually, it's funny because ironically, a lot of people think that I help humans with real estate problems when in reality, I help realtors with human problems. And it's all about how to show up, online as the same human you are offline.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, and even like I do a lot of video these days. I mean, we're doing the podcast, we're making videos,
Mhm.
but even so, sometimes when I'm like putting out something that is like you said, a hot take, or it's kind of an opinion for not kind of, it is an opinion for myself. I'm like, ooh, this might get some people on here that are gonna troll me. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, what I mean, there's always going to be people like that, and there are people that sit on social media and wait for stuff to comment on stuff like that, I feel like.
And
And there's
there are ways to express your unique perspective. And I find that sometimes, the missing element is the why of behind the perspective. And so
yes,
ability, like the tip I always give too, is if you want to share your, unpopular opinion, or even if it's not an unpopular opinion, but it's your perspective, which could be unpopular to someone else. I like to infuse my why. Here's why I think that. I look at this or that or whatever it is. And so, again, the really important thing about your content and your stories is that nobody can control your stories. Nobody can, that's my lived experience. I am letting you know that this is what happened to me. And that's a pro tip for content. I just posted a reel that said how I create my videos or whatever that may be, because it may not be for everyone. I didn't say
right.
how you should make your video. I'm telling you how I made my video. And, it's welcome for questions or how you make your videos. Love that. So there are different ways to position and articulate. And at the end of the day, there's always going to be someone who disagrees with it. And it could be about anything under the sun, which it could be that I like chunky peanut butter instead of smooth. And someone's like, that is horrible. Who eats that?
You're a serial killer.
Yes, exactly. So that again plays into the fear, right? Putting yourself out in a public forum, that after a certain amount of time, there is bound to be something that someone is not going to like or somebody is going to disagree with. And most of the time, they're probably not going to share it with you what it is, but occasionally you might get that. And it gives you that like little zing of, oh, I don't like that, or oh, I should pull back on that. And so it's one of those things that, it is an evolution. And I certainly am not immune to it. I am absolutely a high anxiety, high sensitivity personality, and human that I'm like, oh, I have to work through all these vulnerabilities and fear. I've gone to therapy about this like challenge of posting on social media. So I'm very transparent about that. And I also know that for me to face those vulnerabilities and fears, that I need to actually do that. For me, I need to actually do that thing in order to experience it and say, well, I survived. Someone didn't agree with my opinion and it was fine. We had a nice conversation or not, or I deleted and blocked and I'm good.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. You can always do that too. So I guess we've had some, social media marketing people on here. We've recently had some like YouTube specific people on here. What is your take on long form versus short form?
Mm-hmm. I think that both are very important, because it's often that people say, well, gosh, like, why would I even write a caption for my Instagram reel? Because aren't they watching the video? Like, people don't read anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, that's like saying, let's not write and create any more books because only people are listening to podcasts on like 2x speed. And we know that there are people that love reading books. I am one of them. And I actually really love a paper book that I can highlight, which some people freak out that I write in my books and highlight them. And other people are like, I love my Kindle. I can't read on a Kindle. So there's so many different preferences and needs for how people want to consume content. And yes, do I want to consume something short, quick, and easy if I'm looking for something? Yeah, I want to go through and find a bunch of stuff. And then when I really want to dive into it, I am absolutely also going to watch that 20-minute video on YouTube. So it depends on the intent. It depends on the actual platform. YouTube, people will absolutely consume long form content because it is primarily a search engine. You don't go to YouTube and just say, let me see what it's going to feed me today, like when you go to TikTok. And vice versa, when I go to TikTok or Instagram Reels, I'm just kind of waiting for whatever it is to fall into my feed. So it depends on the intent of the user. It also depends a little bit on the platform. But absolutely, if somebody really wants to go deeper, they're going to want and consume that longer form content. So generally speaking, the short form might capture and attract new people. And then that long form is really going to serve that community base that you have been building and nurturing. And it will also be found by new people as well. So I am a fan of both. I'm also a fan of variety, mainly because I get bored. I get bored making only carousel posts or only reels. And so if I'm getting bored, somebody else is probably getting bored too. And so I personally like a variety of different types of formats because I get bored. And I think ultimately, if you want to do something long term, you have to have some kind of joy in it. And I just was talking with someone prior to this call and I said, does that bring you joy? And they were like, absolutely not. I hate doing it. It brought me joy like 4 years ago when I was making this content and now I can't stand it. Well, then let me give you the permission to take a break or take a permanent break because we are human beings that evolve and change. And you're going to be different now than you are going to be from 2 years from now. So if you want to change it up, go for it. As long as you're going to stay connected with your community and talk to people and your message and your self-awareness and who you are and your uniqueness that you're going to be able to serve others with, whatever works for you at that time. And we have seasons, right? Like you might be taking care of a parent who is struggling with their health. You might have to move across the country because your partner got a new job. There's all these things, right? There could be another pandemic. I mean, hopefully not, but like all of these different seasons and things, we are human beings, right? So you'll have the ebbs and the flows and the ups and the downs. And sometimes, you'll be like, I just can't do that. I just can't do that right now. That's okay. Let's focus on what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
That's kind of one of the things I'm working on now. I had a conversation with my best friend. He followed my YouTube channel on Friday and he was giving me kind of feedback. And he was talking, he was like, well, it's good. I like it. But I feel like it's not you. I feel like you need to tell your story and about your networking and how many people you know and how you got where you are. And he's like, those are things that make you. And I was like, I like this idea. So I've been thinking the last few days how to do that. And he said it at the wrong time because I had all in my head what I was saying today for this lifestyle video that I'm going to put out and put on my website and everything. And now I've completely changed what I'm saying, and he comes here at 3:00.
Well, it's hard because as we're learning all of these things, because we didn't take a class on branding and how to make videos, and we've just kind of picked things up and trying things along the way. You don't know what feels right for you until you try a few things. And I've even had that happen too, where I've paid a lot of money and hired people and then realized, you know what? This just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like me. And I was like, thanks very much. This just isn't going to work. And it was a lesson that I learned. And I said, you know what? I should have trusted myself. But I never would have gotten to that point had I not tried these things. And so we could be hard on ourselves or have like shame over that, or we can try things out and test it and say, you know what? I feel really good about trusting myself that this is how I want to do it. And that even though other people in my industry aren't doing it like this, I feel good doing it like this. So that is a bit of a personal growth, challenge. And we want to take feedback, especially from people that we respect and know that they know what they're doing. But yeah, and you've also got two audiences, right? You've got the people that know, like, and trust you, and you want to go deeper with them. You want to show them who you are. And then you've got people that have never met you before, and they're just going to get served one video and have no idea who you are. And so it just, it can feel overwhelming. But the one thing I will say is that the only content that is completely 100% original to you is all inside of you. And that's the part that we overlook because we feel like, well, I feel like all these brands that I look at are just these huge, remarkable mega brands, and their personas are perfect and they're experts and authorities, when in reality, the thing that really connects people is the relatable, not the remarkable. And so we have these ideas that we need to be a certain thing. And then when we try to be that certain thing, we're like, well, that's me on the video, but I don't know, it doesn't really feel exactly like me. And we sort of have this idea in our head. We're like, I'm not really sure what's off. But then the only thing we can think of is, oh, it's me. I'm the only thing that's in all these videos. So I'm the one that's off. So it's a lot of those limiting beliefs that go round and round. And, if you're having those, the good news is you're 100% normal. This is part of the process and you can overcome them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, it kind of goes back to when you were saying that you're only posting or making posts twice a week now. And that you're a rule breaker, but obviously it's working for you, but it sounds like it's because you're so in touch with yourself and what is you that you're putting out. I mean, do you have any hacks, tips, or tricks around like getting in touch with yourself to what would feel right?
Oh my gosh. So that is something that, like, if I could trademark that, I mean, I leave that for like Brene Brown and Mel Robbins, because they are so uniquely talented for it, right? I'm just a human being trying to figure it all out too. But self-awareness and self-trust is really important. And it's just something that I've personally been working on for a long while. But as far as, tips for those who are feeling uncomfortable or nervous about creating videos. That's the number one question I get. Like, gosh, like, what do I do? And, when I started doing videos years ago, there were no classes. I mean, they told you how to push the button and that's about it. And like Facebook Live was a big thing, like 10 years ago. And, I just remember like feeling so nervous and having no idea what I said, because I was so nervous and I was so thinking about me and what I was looking like and how I was sounding. And, a confession, I didn't watch my videos back for 5 years. I didn't watch it because I knew it was like, if I watch this video, I'm never going to make another one. So I did what I had to do. And yes, it was a miserable, awful, horrible experience of exposure where I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. So I would love to go back to my old self and say, here's a tip that might help you with feeling more aligned on camera. Because a lot of times when we feel that ick, that cringe factor, we watch back one of our videos, it's for a couple of different reasons. Number one, a lot of times we're memorizing something in our head. Either we've actually written out a script, which is great. I love script writing. And you're trying to memorize it, but your brain is on bullet point number 3 and your mouth is on the intro. And so you just lose all the warmth cues from your face. Your eyes deaden because you're activating a different part of your brain than when you're actually talking to someone. And you're thinking about, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to have to re-record. Or maybe you're trying to do it on one take. And then 50 takes later, you basically are reading that because you're just in your head like, oh gosh, let me just get this over with. Let me just get this over with. And so what happens is a lot of those different things, when we see ourselves back, plus you have to think about how we talk just in regular life. We're on this little screen, right? So you're generally not moving. So it's like you're not moving anything. And you normally are probably talking with your body and leaning in and talking to people like this. And so there's all these different things where when you watch that video back, you're like, gosh, that is me on that video, but it doesn't feel like me. And then you add in like, well, what if we send this to one of your really good friends who knows you really well and have them critique it? And you're like, that sounds horrifying. Absolutely. Because that's not how they know you. That's not how they've experienced you. So here's my simplest favorite tip to give anyone when it comes to alignment, which is aligning yourself or showing up online as the same person you are offline, because you can't really script your way through that. Like people who do like news anchoring and actors, they spend years learning how to deliver the script and also emote and use their bodies and their tone and their voices going up and down. And so we're not going to do that because that's not what we're doing full time. So the easiest way to do this is it's just what I call a one-to-one video. And we all have a phone. And I know this sounds terrifying to some, to not have a plan, to not have a studio, to not have a script, to not have lighting, to literally not have a filter, to just open up your phone and send a quick little message to someone that you like, know, and trust. And when I say like, know, and trust, I mean, like if you ran into this person at Target, you would say hello and know their first name. And you would stop, chat, and catch up. And this is somebody that you really trust, right? Yes. So I want you to just go to whatever social media platform of your choice. It could be Instagram, it could be LinkedIn, it could be Facebook, wherever you want to go, right? You can send a quick little video message to literally anyone on Instagram, but I want it to be someone that you feel so comfortable with, right? This is your friend and you're going to send a quick video. And I want you to, in the messaging, it's going to be all about them. And there's a psychological reason about this. Okay. So let's just take happy birthday. Like you're going to say something nice. I want it to be happy birthday, thinking of you, congratulations, whatever it may be. When you know exactly who you're talking to, you do not need a script. You know exactly what to say. And when you are creating content that is a message for another human being, like happy birthday or congratulations or whatever that nice message is, you're not thinking about how you look. You're thinking of that person and you're like, oh my gosh, I just wanted to wish you the best birthday ever. And I dare anyone to wish someone a happy birthday and not smile. It's like impossible. Okay.
Yeah.
Also would recommend like moving your body, which sounds so counterintuitive. But again, if I'm out walking my dog and I'm recording a quick little unedited video, but I know what I'm going to say because I'm going to send a thank you video. Well, okay, I don't need a script for that. I'm going to say thank you and thank you for what, and I appreciate it. And I know this person and I know they're going to appreciate getting that from me. So I am no stress, right? And my eyes are connecting. My voice is modulating up and down. And if I'm doing something else while I'm recording, like walking my dogs, I also am not thinking about, oh my gosh, like focusing on the camera. It's this really weird thing, like where your body's also thinking about walking, right? And so suddenly what happens is you start to realize that, you know what? I don't need a script. I don't need to I don't need to think of a whole. I don't need to be sitting in a studio right now. I have my phone. I could literally make a video anywhere. Oh, I don't have my makeup on yet and I'm walking my dog. That's okay. You eliminate the excuses. And that already gives you a level of comfort with it, but you're also doing something nice for someone else, which builds in this really awesome positive feedback loop that people are having dopamine and oxytocin when you're like, oh my gosh, that was so sweet. Thank you for talking with me. That was really nice. Thank you. And then you feel good doing it because we all love doing nice things for people. And then the last benefit is so huge. When you send someone a direct message on any social platform, they start seeing all of your future content. So it's really awesome because now you're building your camera confidence. You're doing these little one-to-one videos. And also the algorithm is like, wait a minute, you just sent a video to Casey and she responded. So, we think you probably want to see more of each other in the future. So the next time that I post, not for Casey, this is just, I'm going to make my weekly post. Okay. Guess who's going to see it at the top of their feed? Exactly. You're right. Yeah. So who you engage with matters. So it sounds like such a simple strategy, and it is, but it has so many different layers of why it works. And you can start creating videos where nobody else but that one person sees it. And what you'll find is that you're like, okay, that actually did sound like me. That looked like me. And you have a more aligned version of who's on that recording and who is this. And so honestly, it's like you almost have to unlearn to then relearn it. Like, we're going to not have any studios. We're not going to do memorization. We're going to unlearn that just to get comfortable. And then we can layer in some of those additional tips like, okay, if I am going to script something, how can I record it so I don't maybe necessarily have to read it? Or do I have to do it all in one take? Well, that's stressful. Okay, we've got strategies for that. So that's my best tip for getting comfortable in videos, one-to-one videos.
There's even like different apps for that now. Like I have one on my phone that you can use you can write your script, or you can use AI to help you write it, help you, not completely do it for you, but like you can do a teleprompter, or you can do it in like separate takes too. So now I'm like, now there's like all these other, well, I'm sure you have like more in-depth steps for doing that, but I'm like, there's even just for, if someone's just getting started and wants to get their feet wet, there's apps for it now that can help
like
you.
the simplest way, like no app even required. And the way that I think ultimately is going to help you align more, because if you think about how we read, we don't write like we talk.
No.
And you get it. Your brain is very, very savvy. It knows if something's a little bit off, like that sounds like that person's reading. Or sometimes you can see someone's eyes moving and you're like, that person's reading. And what happens is our brain immediately is like, not authentic. We don't know that's happening. Like, it's totally unconscious, right? But when we're talking about building trust through the screen, all those little tiny things matter. So I would actually not have anyone read teleprompter. You have to get really good at that. But the easiest way to do it, honestly, is, and this is how I still make the majority of my videos, not everyone, but the majority of them. I hate editing. I loathe editing. I do not like technology. I do not like editing. I don't like any of that. So I have to bring it down to the basics, right? So here's what you want to do. I actually do love writing a script. I write a script, and I do that for my educational content because I want to make sure that I get my point across and I don't miss anything, but I also don't repeat anything. If you don't like writing scripts, just bullet point. I love writing a script, but I don't like reading a script. So what I do is I'll have my content in front of me, and I will literally record in individual video clips. You can do this on any platform. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you're recording your video, because all you have to do is press and hold the video, it records, and if you let go, it pauses. Now, what happens, a lot of people don't let go, and they're trying to like record the whole darn thing, right? And they're like, I can't remember the third bullet point, and they mess up, and then they have to start all over again, right?
Yeah.
So I record
I've done that many times.
one thought at a time. So I record one sentence or one thought at a time. I pause, I look back at my notes, I change my angles, and I don't have the stress of having to memorize everything. And if I mess up on video clip number 3, I can just delete that one and re-record it. I don't have to start all over again. So the simplest way to do that is to record in clips, which you can do on any platform. You can pause, you can get up and go get some water, whatever you want to do. And you don't have to feel this pressure of having to get all of it in one fell swoop. And you will most likely connect more with the camera when you do that. And if you're, changing your angles, every now and then too, it's going to help the viewers stay engaged, because our brains kind of just tune out. That's why like all of our TV shows and sports, they all have multiple cameras. It's like camera 1, camera 2, zoom in, zoom out. We don't want to make people dizzy, but we do small little easy things where we're just turning halfways in our chair or just moving our arm, and it kind of helps keep that visual interest. They call it a pattern interrupt. So visual pattern interruptions will keep your brain engaged.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. That makes so much sense, though.
Yeah.
And then we can just do it on our own, just pressing pause and record. Like, okay. Do you what about like you talked about walking your dog and stuff. Do you think having movement in your videos, not I mean like well not I'm doing it here like my hands and stuff, but like do you have a preference on like sitting or walking or because I'm about to do the American Dream
Mhm.
TV show and they're like, "Oh, well walking's always better. It just keeps people more engaged." Is that the same way on social media or is that more of like a TV tip? I mean,
Any kind of pattern interruption or movement, generally, as long as it's not distracting to you or the
right.
audience. Some people have, like, I have different things where I have, like, I call them verbal tics, where I say the word so a lot and I can't figure out how to stop that. But some people might move their body in a certain way or like repetitively do something and not even know that they're doing it. Now, this happens a lot when you're talking about speakers and professional speakers, and you have to be really aware of your body language because you don't want to do something that distracts from your message that the audience might be like focusing on. They're like, oh my gosh, like I can't not pay attention to this, like a thing that's driving me nuts. But ultimately, not to overcomplicate it or make you overthink, because that also can be a challenge when, you're learning how to use your body language and your hands and your tone and your face. Like that's a lot, right? That's a lot
Mhm.
to remember and learn all at once. That's why people go to school for theater and acting and all of that. But yeah, movement, and I think pattern interruption is the key. I don't know that I would say just movement because you could like jump into the screen and that might be a little jarring. Also, I don't really want to watch a video of somebody like jogging and holding their video and it's like moving
I mean,
everywhere,
yeah.
right? So I think the pattern interrupt is key. And
Okay.
if you're not you're going to have a professional editor, which is great because you're on a TV show. I do not have that because I don't have a professional editor. And so
Yeah.
those simple things of changing your angle, changing your background. I've even done it where on my Instagram reels, I might be sitting in my office for 3 of the clips, and then I might be walking in my house for one of them. And it's not about like, oh my gosh, that's ruining the continuity. Well, maybe if I'm giving you a cinematic movie with like, characters and whatnot, but it's more of just a pattern interrupt. So I don't know if I would say specifically only just movement. You could do a pattern interrupt with like your hook. You can do a pattern interrupt with your body language. You could do a pattern interrupt with a pause. You can do all different kinds of different pattern interrupts, but usually they're talking about visual pattern interrupts. And what you'll notice on your show when you watch it back is they'll be zooming in, they'll be zooming out. They'll have your voice while they're doing some kind of what they call B-roll, where maybe it's pictures of houses, but they can still hear you
Right.
talking. Now, that's a little too much editing for me. So you could do all that too on Reels
Yeah.
and TikTok. But yeah, for me personally, that just sounds like, my heart starts pounding and like I just can't do that right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you'll
That
notice
makes sense for
you
sure.
won't be able to unsee it, which was really unfortunate when I was watching like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I can't remember what it was years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, how many cameras do they have? Zooming in, zooming out, her face, his face, and then I'm like, I can't unsee it now.
Oh, great. Yeah, now that's gonna be me.
You're going to be fine, Hallie.
Well, just watching it back, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other story. It'll be okay. Well, I know we're coming up on your time limit, Chelsea. Do you have any last just a hack tip or trick to help, especially like maybe newer agents watching this, to help them with their business and use social media marketing?
Or old
Absolutely.
school people like me.
Yes, I identify in that category. Yes. So first of all, best place to connect with me is Instagram. It's chelsea.peitz, and you can send me a direct message. Let me know if you came from the show. I love hearing from people that come from the show so I can connect and say hello. I have a whole bunch of totally free downloads, guides, Instagram courses that you can grab on my link in bio as well. My favorite tip that I love to share is something super simple because all of those usually work the best and long term. And I have a phrase that I've been saying for a number of years, and I truly believe in less contenting and more commenting. And what I mean by that is If content is overwhelming you or stressing you out, which many of us have content stress, it is perfectly okay. And you should know that your conversations, your comments, that you are helping people feel seen and validated and supported, and you're adding to the conversation, that's the most important content on the planet. A lot of people don't consider your conversations content, but 23 years ago, my broker asked me the same question every day. How many people did you talk to? And I was on a busy day. I was like, whew, 3. I had breakfast with someone, and then I went on like a broker tour, and then I had a listing appointment, and the day was gone. And so now you have this beautiful ability to, at scale, talk to people and have conversations. And, you know, something that I do every single day is talk to people. And I have the ability to do that without even needing your phone number or your email. And we can connect and talk, and they can peer into what I'm posting about my day or vice versa. And so if you're ever feeling this content stress, keep in mind that your conversations, your relationships, your direct messages, your comments are a fabulous way to build a powerful personal brand in a relationship with someone else, and let them know that you are there and that you are supporting their content, and you're creating relationships and conversations. So less contenting, more commenting is my last tip of the day.
I love it. Okay, and I found the quote that I said in the, or repeated, and I made sure to give you credit for it. So just want to clarify that. Okay, so it goes, today's reminders: authenticity is a metric, imperfection is an advantage, empathy is a sales skill, relatability is a strategy, and trust is revenue. I'm like,
oh, thank you for sharing that.
I love that one. I love that one. I'm like, I need to put that on my mirror. I need to like memorize this. I love that so much.
Yeah, I love when you read it.
That's the podcast in a nutshell, everybody.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. That's really kind. I appreciate that. And yeah.
Well, thank you for your time today. Guys, we are still highlighting Bunny's Buddies. So Chelsea, Casey and I are both we're rescue dog moms, and we love highlighting charities. We do a lot of that in our real estate business. So we wanted to do that with our podcast as well, something that is authentic to us. So guys, just don't forget, we've got Bunny's Buddies, put it at the bottom, bunniesbuddies.org, to help little rescue animals in need and to take care of them. And we'll see you guys next week. And again, Chelsea, thank you so much for your time. I know you're super busy, but I think this is going to be really good for our viewers to see and implement. And guys, if you want to, and if you want to dig in more, Chelsea's, like we said, go on her Instagram and link in bio for all of her resources. We put her 2 books. We talked about her 2 books on this podcast. So reach out to her, reach out to us, and we're all of us are here to help you. So
absolutely.
Thank you. Follow you right now.
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Thank you for your time.
All right.